Let's get a check on business before the bell with CNBC's Erin Burnett live at the New York Stock Exchange. Erin, good morning.
Good morning, everybody. Well, we got some headlines crossing here right now. Jobless claims, most watched number in the market right now. This is the weekly number. Market actually likes it. They are up 9,000, which would put the claims at 654,000. Obviously, that's still horrible. We know that. And that is just a little bit 3,000 more than expected. Expectations, by the way, as we've been emphasizing, have become more and more accurate. I don't know whether that's a good thing or a real sign of problems, but nonetheless, the numbers obviously indicate continued dramatic job loss, but completely as expected. Market has actually ticked slightly higher on that news. Now, let's also get to the retail numbers because these are important. They were only down 0.1% for the month of February. Why is that important and better than expected? Because they were expected to be down 0.5%. So these are February retail sales, and they are much better than expected. That's also part of the reason why you saw the market move to flat. Who knows? We could be down today. I wouldn't read too much into it, but nonetheless, there you have it. Slightly better than expected on both. I'm just trying to scan through here quickly. Haynes is talking. All right, a couple of other things here that you should definitely know about, and I'm sure you all mentioned since you've had Donnie and David there, talking about foreclosure filings. There's a couple ways to look at it, and the headline that you keep seeing is they're up 30% from a year ago. That's accurate. They were only up 6% from the month before, which is just another way to kind of contextualize it. It is the third highest monthly total in terms of new foreclosure filings that we've had since records began. But again, records only began in January of 2005, right when things were in the boom. So that's something else to keep in mind. The most troubling thing from the foreclosure filing is this. 3 of the top 10 states are new states. Oregon is on that list as an example. And what that is doing is making people feel that this is the first round of non-lending driven foreclosures. All the ones before were really driven by bad lending, people who maybe couldn't have afforded those homes to begin with. Now we're seeing foreclosures that are driven by people who lost their jobs and have now exhausted their unemployment and then exhausted the 90-day window that you get before you get a foreclosure filing. So that is part of the issue there on the foreclosure front. And David, I'm sure, has talked about this, but you did finally get another giant deal. It's amazing. You've had 2 deals over $40 billion this week. Genentech and Roche. Roche is a Swiss company finally buying Genentech. It's been a long saga, and they're buying it for $47 billion.
Wow.
So there you have it.
Well, there are purchases being made. Erin Burnett.
And you know what? I'm going to throw this out there as just a question, all right?
Yeah.
Just a question, because I know Joe's probably thought a lot about this, especially given, Joe, that you were a Republican in Congress. And that is this whole question of unemployment benefits themselves, right? You know, places like China don't have them, and everyone says that means that they're weak. But does that encourage people in places like China to go get jobs more quickly rather than waiting to exhaust their unemployment benefits, as some say some people do here? I don't know. It's a question out there that more and more people are discussing, because we're spending a lot of money on extending those things.
Right. Erin, I think if you met some people out of work right now, I don't think they'd be telling you that they're not working because they're waiting for unemployment benefits.
Oh, Donnie, no doubt, no doubt. And I think the American values would be for people to get a job immediately. But we get a lot of emails that people say that people do wait a little bit. Some people do. And maybe it's 1% of people.
Erin,
maybe it's more.
People who are working talk that way. I don't think people out of work in this economy are thinking that way. That's
okay, it's a fair point, Donnie, but I'm just saying a lot of people are talking about it. Serious economists. So I'm throwing it out there as a question for discussion.
Well, it is.
I don't personally know, nor do I have an opinion on it, but it is out there and it's fair to bring it up.
That is fair to bring it up. And, you know, we had this debate back in the 1990s about welfare reform.
Right.
And when we passed... When we were trying to pass welfare reform, everybody said this is the worst thing that's ever happened. We're going to throw people out in the streets. They're going to starve, blah, blah, blah. And what happened was actually welfare reform was a huge success. Even the most progressive people that were against it 5 years later said, well, it worked. It's a balancing act. Again, it's incentives. You know, you incentivize, you help people, you provide that safety net, but all the while you try not to set up a system where you tell a young teenage girl, have a baby, and don't get married, and we will give you money. And if you want to make more money, have another baby, and don't get a job. But if you marry the husband, the father, we're not going to pay you.
That works against everything.
You don't want to set up those type of incentives.
I would agree with you on that.
Exactly. And there is
having a safety net.
There is a balance. You got to have
part of our society.
Right.
Erin Burnett, thanks very much. And